Okay, let's unpack this. For years, we've talked a lot on the deep dive about critical infrastructure, right? These silent, complex
You
systems.
have the ones managing everything from power generation and manufacturing to, the purity of our water supply.
Exactly, the systems that really underpin modern society. And at the same time, we've watched artificial intelligence just evolve from this academic concept into a pervasive technological force.
And today, those two incredibly complex, high-stakes worlds are colliding, and the stakes for safety, security, reliability is going to be higher.
Mhm.
Indeed. We're rapidly moving past the theoretical discussions of AI's potential benefits in operational technology, or OT. We're getting to the necessary and sometimes scary reality of secure integration.
The upside is clear, though. You see it everywhere. Enhanced efficiency, significant cost savings.
And hyperlocal, fast decision-making.
Huh.
But the risks are profound. I mean, we are talking about unique failure modes like process drift.
Right, where the AI model just loses accuracy over time and starts steering the physical process incorrectly.
Exactly. Or, and this is the really scary one, the risk of safety process bypasses, where a fundamental security flaw introduced by the AI could impact the physical world.
Causing catastrophic harm to people, property, the environment.
Absolutely.
The source material we're diving into today is not just a standard white paper or some journal article. This is a seminal collaborative guidance document. It's titled Principles for the Secure Integration of AI in OT, and it was published very recently, December 3, 2025.
And what truly sets this guidance apart is the staggering global authority behind it.
You really can't overstate the collaborative weight here, can you?
You can't. This document represents a global consensus among nations that this issue is past the point of just being a national concern. It requires a unified international approach. We have 9 major international agencies co-authoring and endorsing this material.
So on the U.S. side, we see CISA, this Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which is the operational arm of critical infrastructure defense.
And they're alongside the NSA's brand new Artificial Intelligence Security Center and the investigative might of the FBI.
That trio alone signals how serious this threat vector is considered.
And then the collaboration just widens geographically. You've got the Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity, the UK's National Cybersecurity Centre, the NCSC UK.
The German Federal Office for Information Security, the BSI, I mean, these are the organizations that handle the operational defense of major Western industrialized economies.
And it doesn't stop there. Rounding out this incredible consortium, we have the Netherlands National Cybersecurity Centre, New Zealand's NCSC-NZ, and the Australian Signals Directorate's Australian Cybersecurity Centre.
So when 9 top-tier agencies from around the world covering intelligence, domestic defense, operational security, when they all unite to issue guidance on a single technical topic.
It means the threat is current, global, and it requires immediate, consistent action.
They're essentially providing critical infrastructure owners and operators a structured, unified guide, a playbook for adopting AI safely.
Precisely. Their goal is not to stop AI adoption, but to act as guardrails.
Right. So our mission today is to act as your expert guides through these 4 key principles laid out in this document. We want to ensure that you walk away with a thorough, actionable understanding of what safe, secure, and reliable AI adoption and operational technology really looks like.
The 4 principles that structure this entire document and our deep dive today are designed to be followed sequentially. They cover everything from the initial assessment to ongoing operations.
So what are they?
They are 1. Understand AI. 2. Consider AI use in the OT domain. 3. Establish AI governance and assurance frameworks. And finally, 4. Embed oversight and fail-safe practices into AI and AI-enabled OT systems.
Before we jump into those principles, though, we have to spend some time on definitions. I know, but when you're dealing with critical infrastructure where milliseconds count and physical consequences are immediate...
You cannot afford to conflate terms.
Exactly. Jargon fatigue is real, but clarity here is literally the difference between keeping the lights on and causing a brownout.
Absolutely. The agencies were hyper-specific in defining these terms. They wanted to ensure they align with the functional reality of critical infrastructure protection, not just the latest tech news cycle.
So let's start with the AI side. In the context of this guidance, artificial intelligence is defined broadly.
It's a system that uses machine and human-based inputs to make predictions, recommendations, or decisions influencing real or virtual environments.
And it's important to note, this specific definition is actually codified in U.S. law, which gives it a specific regulatory weight.
And the other side of that equation is operational technology, OT. This is the domain that interacts with the physical world.
We're talking about programmable systems or devices like controllers, PLCs, RTUs, SCADA systems.
The things that physically control stuff, managing flow rates in a water treatment plant, adjusting tension in a steel mill, or managing traffic signals. The key feature is that OT systems detect or cause a direct, real-world change.
And this leads to the most crucial distinction the document makes, which I think is often blurred in the IT world, the difference between safety and security.
Right. When they talk about safety, they specifically mean functional safety. This is physical safety protecting people and property.
And that's paramount because OT systems control things that, if they get compromised or just fail, can cause physical harm. Explosions, massive environmental damage.
Conversely, security or cybersecurity, information security, that refers to protecting the security properties of information systems.
That classic cybersecurity triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the CIA triad.
Exactly. These systems have to be available to maintain operations. Their data has to be accurate. That's integrity. But that physical safety aspect, the functional safety, that's the existential layer that AI integration really complicates.
Right. You can suffer a data breach, which is a security failure, but a catastrophic safety failure means loss of life or a plant shutdown. It's a whole different level of risk.
This clarity of definition is so necessary to focus the scope of the guidance. It acknowledges that, statistical modeling and traditional algorithms have been embedded in control systems for decades. But this document focuses primarily on three complex subsets of modern AI
Why those three?
because they introduce dynamic, non-deterministic risks that traditional control systems just don't face.
And those three are machine learning, ML, large language models, LLMs, and AI agents.
Let's start with ML. These are really the workhorses. ML systems use complex algorithms to learn from huge data sets, making predictions or classifications without being explicitly programmed for every single scenario.
They're brilliant at handling those complex nonlinear relationships using techniques like supervised or reinforcement learning.
And this is what you see in industrial computer vision, predictive maintenance algorithms, and robotics.
Then you have the disruptive newcomers, large language models, or LLMs.
These are advanced ML models designed to process and generate natural human language.
The critical distinction here for OT operators, though, is that LLMs often have intentional randomness or variability built into their output generation.
That's right. This stochastic element is great for a natural conversation, but it's utterly terrifying in a deterministic control environment.
So LLMs might enhance human decision-making by summarizing complex diagnostics or automating routine documentation.
But that inherent randomness, that non-determinism, is a major, major safety hazard.
And finally, the most advanced layer, AI agents.
Right. These are software types that process data, make decisions, and critically initiate autonomous actions using those ML or LLM models.
This is where the machine is actually allowed to touch the controls.
Exactly. An agent could combine language understanding with predictive analytics to decide to, say, adjust a valve position.
And the guidance stresses, with extreme emphasis, the absolute need for implementing rigorous, layered error-checking mechanisms to make sure those autonomous actions stay strictly within expected and, most importantly, safe bounds.
The takeaway here is simple. While traditional statistical modeling benefits from the security principles in this guidance, the complex, new risks, the kind that keeps the ISOs up at night, they stem primarily from the dynamic learning, the opacity, and the autonomous capability of ML, LLMs, and AI agents.
To really visualize how this intelligence slots into our infrastructure, we need a common map. And for OT, that map is the Purdue model.
Right, this hierarchical framework standardizes the relationships between OT and IT networks. The guidance maps AI applications across these levels, from level 0 right up to levels 4 and 5.
Think of it like this. The risk profile changes dramatically as you move up the stack, and the appropriate AI application changes with it.
At level 0, field devices, your actual sensors and actuators, they are primarily the raw OT data source for training the AI models.
So they're just generating the high-volume time series data needed to identify significant deviations?
Right. We generally don't run complex AI here, but the integrity of this data is vital. If you get data poisoning at level 0, you get a bad model everywhere else.
Moving up to level 1, local controllers, things like PLCs or edge controllers. This is where you might execute lightweight, pre-trained predictive ML models.
These models handle immediate local control tasks, anomaly detection, ensuring the system maintains a known safe state. We're talking about intelligence running right at the edge, often performing simple, pre-verified tasks extremely fast.
Level 2, local supervisory, involves SCADA and DCS systems.
And this is where predictive ML models start focusing on quality control and diagnostics. They analyze data streams to detect early signs of equipment anomalies.
Like a bearing vibrating slightly too fast or a motor drawing a bit more current.
Exactly. And then they alert human operators that corrective action is needed. Crucially, the AI here is still advisory. It's recommending, not typically acting autonomously on the physical process.
Level 3, site-wide supervisory, is where our data aggregation happens, usually in industrial historians.
This is the classic domain of predictive maintenance. ML models analyze large, aggregated historical data to predict asset failure 30, 60, or 90 days out. They also feed system recommendations back to local supervisory systems, supporting broader operator decision-making across the whole facility.
Finally, we reach levels 4 and 5, enterprise and business networks. This is the IT side.
Right. The data exported from OT lands here. AI agents and LLMs are used for high-level workflow optimization, improving business processes that intersect with engineering, like scheduling maintenance windows or optimizing supply chains.
We also see sophisticated behavioral analytics and profiling here, analyzing aggregated OT/IT data for advanced threat detection and prioritizing resiliency decisions across the enterprise.
This is the level where LLMs can generate summaries of incidents, but they should never, ever dictate the response back down the stack.
That structural mapping is absolutely vital because it grounds the entire discussion. The message is AI touches everything from the sensor at level 0 to the boardroom at level 5.
And because the risk changes at every single level, from physical safety risk at L1 to IP leakage risk at L5, your risk mitigation has to be custom tailored for each layer.
Okay, so we've grounded ourselves in the language and the map. Now we move to the first principle. Understand AI. This starts with a necessary dose of reality, identifying the unique and sometimes terrifying risks that AI introduces into environments where reliability is synonymous with physical safety.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the guidance dedicates a huge, detailed analysis table 2 in the document to these unique risks. It emphasizes that traditional IT security controls are necessary, but they are no longer sufficient. We need AI-specific defenses because the risk is now cyber with a physical feedback loop.
Let's run through the biggest dangers, starting with cybersecurity risks. This goes beyond just a network intrusion, right?
Oh, way beyond. We're talking about manipulating training data, model weights, or the deployment software itself to cause incorrect outcomes. Or even worse, using the AI system as a pivot point to bypass fundamental security and functional safety measures.
Traditional network security risks still apply, but now you have these novel AI-specific risks like prompt injection.
Where malicious input may be fed through an operator terminal, alters the AI's behavior or decision-making in real time. The impact is significant. Functional safety risks, network compromise using the AI component as a beachhead, and potentially cascading compromise across interconnected systems.
Next up is the perennial problem, data quality.
AI models are utterly dependent on their training data, but collecting high-quality normalized sensor data is incredibly difficult in legacy OT environments. You've got proprietary protocols, aging equipment, data silos.
And if the data is polluted or biased or just incomplete, the model output is compromised.
And the consequence of that bad data is immediate. Reduced OT safety, poor operational efficiency, and unnecessary downtime. Furthermore, centralizing this high-quality data to train the model creates its own risk. If an adversary compromises that centralized data store, they gain a blueprint for targeted maximum impact attacks against the physical plant.
Which feeds directly into AI model drift.
Right. OT environments are dynamic. Process variables change, equipment ages, raw material inputs shift, production processes are optimized.
So if the AI model keeps operating with assumptions from old training data, its accuracy just decreases over time.
And this drift manifests as suboptimal control. That leads to a loss of productivity and critically reduced functional safety if the model is contributing to controlled decisions. You have to actively monitor for this accuracy decay.
Then we confront the infamous lack of explainability, what people call the black box problem.
Deep learning models, while they're incredibly powerful, make it extremely difficult to understand how they reached a specific decision.
So if an incident occurs, say a safety valve is opened unexpectedly, and the AI recommended that action, tracing the rationale becomes complex, sometimes impossible.
This lack of auditability complicates troubleshooting, drastically increases recovery time, and presents a severe functional safety risk because you can't verify the system's underlying logic.
And here's a subtle but dangerous consequence for the human operators. Operator cognitive load.
AI is supposed to reduce burden, But if it's generating unnecessary alarm errors or false positives, it actually increases the operator's cognitive burden,
They become distracted, fatigued, and start ignoring alarms.
which leads to human error or unnecessary downtime. It's a subtle safety risk. The AI creates so much noise that the human misses the genuine, critical signal.
The most direct safety warning in the document, I think, addresses reliability and hallucination.
Yes, the guidance states unequivocally that AI systems, particularly LLMs, may fabricate plausible but factually false responses or data.
Providing incorrect information to an operator will immediately lead to unsafe operating conditions, equipment damage, or environmental release.
And this leads to the document's crystal clear, non-negotiable safety conclusion. Large language models almost certainly should not be used to make safety decisions or direct autonomous actions for OT environments.
Wow, that is a headline takeaway for any company looking at integrating a general-purpose AI.
They are simply too non-deterministic and prone to fabrication for that kind of critical task.
And then there's the risk of AI dependency.
If operators over-rely on the AI, they risk what's called skill erosion. They may miss critical safety information that the AI overlooked, or worse, they lose the hands-on, hard-won expertise required to operate the equipment manually during a massive failure event.
That human competency is the final failsafe, and dependency just chips away at it.
And finally, we see standard OT challenges just amplified: interoperability and complexity.
Introducing sophisticated AI components increases system complexity, which naturally expands the attack surface.
And this is particularly challenging in OT, which is often characterized by older, proprietary, and highly fragile legacy equipment that doesn't easily interface using modern, standardized data formats.
So complexity equals new attack vectors and higher maintenance costs.
Okay, so we've established the threat landscape. Now, the second part of Principle 1 is understanding the response, the secure AI system development lifecycle.
This is all about demanding and verifying that security is built in, not just bolted on at the end.
It's about accountability. The guidance points to CISA and NCSC UK's joint guidance, emphasizing that ownership of security is shared across the entire life cycle. It's similar to how responsibilities are divided in complex hybrid cloud models.
So clear roles have to be defined between the OT owner, the manufacturer of the equipment, the supplier of the AI model, and the integrator who deploys it all.
The lifecycle breaks down into 4 critical stages. First, secure design.
So security requirements, data protection protocols, robust coding standards, and fault tolerance measures have to be architected in from the very beginning.
Second, secure procurement development. The owner needs to verify that vendors use verifiable secure methodologies and tools, or if you're developing in-house, that your development team adheres to stringent secure coding and testing practices. This is where you verify the origin and quality of the AI model itself.
Third, secure deployment. This involves maintaining the security posture when the AI goes live,
which includes proper network segmentation to isolate the AI system, stringent access control to the deployment infrastructure, and crucially, comprehensive verification and validation that the system works exactly as intended in a real-world dynamic environment.
And fourth, secure operation and maintenance. This is the continuous ongoing work.
Regular patch management for the underlying operating systems and the model itself, continuous monitoring for model drift and potential security vulnerabilities, and ensuring the auditability of the AI's decisions over time.
The guidance then talks about the owner's choice in sourcing these systems. They have 3 paths: procuring a secure, pre-developed system,
developing an AI system completely in-house, which grants full control over the model and data,
or customizing an existing system, tailoring it to specific OT needs, and each of those paths introduces different supply chain and operational risks.
Regardless of the path, the universal mandate for the owner should be to demand systems that are demonstrably secure by design.
The guidance explicitly recommends consulting CISA's secure by design resources.
The fundamental principle is that security deficiencies introduced at the design stage are almost impossible or prohibitively expensive to fix later in a live OT environment.
That forensic approach to design brings us neatly to the final part of Principle 1, educate personnel on AI. We have to manage the human element and mitigate the dangers of automation complacency.
This is where we combat those dependency risks and skill gaps. If an operator relies too heavily on an AI system to analyze a complex fault, they might lose the manual expertise needed to diagnose it themselves.
So if the AI fails, That system suddenly becomes unusable because the human operators lack the troubleshooting expertise for the new technology.
Or the manual skills for the old one.
So the solution is multifaceted, focusing intensely on skill development. OT teams must receive training not just on using the AI, but on AI fundamentals, underlying model mechanisms, and most importantly, threat modeling for AI-enabled systems.
And here's an excellent practical safety tip buried in the guidance. Training teams to use alternative sensors to validate AI output.
What do they mean by alternative sensors?
It means leveraging human senses, checking physical vibration levels, temperature readings, or gauge pressure readings, things the AI might not have access to or might be misinterpreting.
So if the AI says the water pump is operating at peak efficiency, but the operator hears a strange rattle and smells burning oil.
The human validation must always override the automated output.
It's the human element as the necessary sanity check. They also stress leveraging explainable AI x AI.
Right. Operators should require that AI outputs include clear and transparent documentation of the decision-making processes. This is essential for complex troubleshooting. If the AI recommends a shutdown, the operator needs a rationale they can audit, not just a prediction.
And finally, developing clear standard operating procedures, SOPs, for all AI-related operations, interventions, and incidents is vital.
These procedures define the workflow for validation, how to intervene when the AI is wrong, and which stakeholders are responsible when the system enters a failure state.
We've established the security and safety baseline in Principle 1. Now we move to Principle 2. Consider AI use in the OT domain. This is the due diligence phase. Before you commit time, resources, or operational stability, you have to rigorously assess, is AI the best tool for this highly sensitive job?
Absolutely. Section 2.1 focuses on the OT business case. Owners have to assess if AI technologies are truly the most appropriate solution.
You have to fight the urge to adopt technology just because it's cutting edge.
Exactly. If a simpler, established, deterministic, and highly auditable technology can meet the functional requirements, it often means lower risk and lower cost.
The assessment must cover 5 critical factors: security, performance, complexity, cost, and the specific effect on OT safety.
This isn't just a cost-benefit analysis. It's a risk surface expansion analysis. If you choose AI, you are introducing new attack paths, new hardware, complex software, and new security infrastructure.
So you have to assess your organization's current capacity, both human and financial, to maintain this new level of complexity.
And if the decision favors AI, the guidance strongly recommends immediately adopting established frameworks, like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, to ensure that safety and security are built into the requirements from day one.
To make this abstract process tangible, the document provides a detailed illustrative example. Using an ML model for predictive maintenance on an industrial generator, it shows the incredible rigor required before deployment.
Let's break down the required thinking. The operational goal is to detect potential generator failures 30 days in advance, reducing catastrophic failure risk.
The immediate risk identified is high. If the AI fails or hallucinates, the equipment could be replaced prematurely, incurring huge financial waste and unnecessary downtime.
The functional requirements are clear: access to historical performance data, the ability to process large OT data sets in near real time, and a high degree of predictive reliability.
But look at the technical security requirements they demand.
They require the aggregated data to be protected in transit and at rest, with detailed logging of any access or modifications. And here is the hyper-specific key insight we need to focus on. Data aggregation must not exceed an 80% network bandwidth threshold.
Wow.
The core insight here is that when critical infrastructure agencies put a specific technical number like this on network performance, they are explicitly telling you that the data transfer, the communication channel between L3 and L45, is often the single biggest choke point and failure risk in the entire process.
So if the AI model bogs down the network, it compromises the availability of the critical control functions.
It's a powerful lesson. AI failure might look like a machine learning error, but it could actually be a fundamental network failure caused by the volume of data required to feed the beast.
The example concludes with clear safety metrics. The AI must generate actionable and rare erroneous alarms to prevent operator fatigue, and the success metrics are quantified: a 25% reduction in downtime and a 15% decrease in maintenance costs.
This kind of assessment is non-negotiable.
Moving to 2.2, we discuss managing OT data security risks for AI systems. Data is the indispensable fuel for AI, but in the OT domain, it is also a major liability.
The challenges are numerous. First, data assurance. You have to know who controls the storage of training data, How are you securing access management for viewing or modifying that training data?
And how are external AI vendors accessing it, especially if they're using remote, cloud, or offshore access points?
That quickly leads to data sovereignty. If you engage foreign-based vendors, you have to be aware that their data access is subject to foreign laws and potentially government control, which may conflict with your national security or business interest.
It requires a deep risk analysis of vendor location.
Then there's the exposure of sensitive information risk. You must minimize the sharing of proprietary data, especially with public cloud-hosted models, to avoid leaking proprietary processes or, in the case of aggregated data, exposing patterns of critical infrastructure operation.
This is critical for data privacy and security, and also requires vigilant defense against data poisoning, where an attacker subtly manipulates the training set to inject a vulnerability or a bias.
And again, the data quality and availability issue persists. Curating the high-quality datasets necessary for training requires specialized domain knowledge.
It's often incredibly difficult to capture safety-related edge cases, like what happened the one time the system nearly failed, especially with proprietary or outdated systems.
Which means OT operator expertise is absolutely essential for data integrity and labeling.
The guidance prioritizes securing two types of OT data above all others. First, engineering configuration data.
This includes network diagrams, asset inventories, schematics, and safety documentation. These are the crown jewels for an adversary because they provide the blueprint for targeted safe mode attacks.
And second, ephemeral OT data.
This is real-time industrial measurement data. Voltage, pressure, temperature, flow rates. While it appears temporary, if this data is used to train or update a continuous AI model, it becomes statistically stored longer, revealing intellectual property and sensitive patterns of activity.
So securing this ephemeral data, particularly ensuring it doesn't leak or reveal proprietary operational logic, becomes vital.
Next, 2.3 discusses understanding the role of OT vendors in AI integration. We are seeing a trend where vendors embed AI directly into devices. They call them intelligent devices.
These devices are often capable of modifying control logic based on real-time predictions, like optimizing motor speed or anticipating grid frequency dynamics.
This shift means critical infrastructure owners must demand radical transparency and control from the vendor community. You need explicit contractual agreements detailing every single AI feature, its functionality, and the data it consumes.
Furthermore, they must require complete transparency regarding the software supply chain. This means demanding a software bill of materials, or SBILOM, for the embedded AI components.
This clarifies the model supply chain, the open source components used, and the hosting location of the model's data. They specifically reference the G7 vision on SBILOM for AI, which really underscores the international push for mandatory AI component transparency.
Crucially, owners should demand vendor notifications, not just for generic software vulnerabilities, but disclosure if the AI vendor discovers an indication that the AI can provide improper advice or take inappropriate action.
If the model exhibits drift in their lab, the operator needs to be warned before it causes harm in the field.
Data usage policies must be strictly enforced to protect IP. Owners need granular detail on data residency, encryption standards, and acceptable communication paths.
You also have to ask vendors, can this system operate reliably on premises without continuous internet or cloud access? Operational dependency on the public cloud is a vulnerability in critical infrastructure.
And finally, operators must retain full control.
The owner has to have the technical ability to explicitly disable or enable specific AI features or to revert to non-AI control logic instantly. This control is the final operational fail-safe against unforeseen AI behavior.
The final part of Principle 2 is 2.4, evaluating challenges in AI-OT system integration. We are asking new, sophisticated AI systems to integrate with often fragile, non-standard legacy environments. This is a complex engineering feat.
The list of challenges is daunting. Increased complexity means new, often remotely accessible attack paths, potentially exposed to the internet via cloud infrastructure.
Cloud security risks introduce latency issues and shift security responsibility to a third party.
Compatibility is a nightmare because older equipment often lacks standardized data formats required for ML ingestion.
And latency is a critical failure point. If the AI is actively involved in control, the timing requirements are incredibly strict, and any network lag can cause system instability.
So, the mitigation strategies are foundational. Owners must integrate AI systems into their overall comprehensive security framework, ensuring the AI components are subject to traditional controls like encryption, robust access controls, and intrusion detection systems, just like any other asset.
For cloud integrations, security clauses have to be defined, validated, and tested in the cloud contracts, outlining explicit AI security responsibilities.
Cloud providers must detail who is responsible for model integrity, data residency, and continuous security validation.
Architecturally, the guidance has a massive preference, and this is another key insight for you. Encourage push-based architectures.
Data should be pushed out of the OT network for the AI to use and analyze, without granting persistent inbound access to the OT network. They recommend using one-way data transfer patterns and audited staging buffers.
This maintains the essential air-gapped or segmented security posture of the OT environment.
Control priority is key.
Yeah.
Fail-safe mechanisms must be designed to immediately revert to traditional automation or manual control upon detection of an AI fault.
Furthermore, the AI system must be tested like any new OT system, verifying that any new remote access paths are approved and strictly work through existing security infrastructure, like the DMZ or dedicated jump hosts.
And here the guidance reiterates the human-in-the-loop requirement. Limit active control of OT infrastructure by AI without mandatory explicit human intervention.
This addresses both safety concerns and latency limitations. The human remains the designated decision maker and critical validation point.
We've established the need and the design rules. Now we move to the internal structure. Principle 3, establishing AI governance and assurance frameworks.
Governance provides the necessary policies, accountability, and organizational structure to sustain secure AI use over decades, not just during deployment.
Governance must originate from the top. Section 3.1 focuses on establishing governance mechanisms. Securing commitment and investment from senior leadership, including the CEO and CISO, is essential.
AI is too high risk and high cost to be siloed project. They have to be fully invested in the secure lifecycle management of AI systems.
You need a dynamic team. OTI subject matter experts are critical for providing ground-level insights into the physical environment and identifying unique, localized risks that general AI guidance won't cover.
And cybersecurity teams are vital for developing policies, protecting the sensitive OT data used by AI models, and performing continuous vulnerability scanning and mitigation across the new AI-enabled assets.
The governance structure also mandates specific technical components, enforcing strict data governance policies like encryption and least privilege access controls, establishing clear roles and responsibilities to avoid organizational confusion and liability during a complex incident,
and implementing regular security audits alongside continuous performance validation to track model accuracy and drift.
Section 3.2 is about integrating AI into existing security and cybersecurity frameworks. AI systems are not special exceptions. They must conform to all existing regulations and procedural requirements.
Traditional requirements like conducting regular security audits and comprehensive risk assessments or demanding proof of them from the vendor still apply fully.
Implementing robust security controls like encryption, access controls, and intrusion detection systems is mandatory for AI systems and data. But we need AI-tailored controls now too, especially around logging and forensics.
Yes, organizations must collect comprehensive flow logs and access logs for AI endpoints. They have to track data egress by specific asset and identity.
Furthermore, you should integrate with data loss prevention, DLP tools, to inspect prompts and outputs, catching potential data leaks or policy violations that the LLM or agent might inadvertently cause.
And threat modeling has to evolve. Security teams must now incorporate AI-related tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs.
The guidance suggests using tools like the AIAuditor Adversarial Threat Landscape for Artificial Intelligence Systems, ATLA matrix. This is essential because ATLA is specifically tailored for mapping attacks like model evasion, data poisoning, and integrity compromise against AI-enabled systems. It augments the standard ATT and CK matrix, which focuses on network and operating system infiltration.
Moving to 3.3, we focus on conduct thorough AI testing and evaluation, T&E. Testing is the absolute bedrock of safety and reliability in OT.
Operators must start by conducting tests on infrastructure specifically designed for testing, separate from production entirely.
They recommend starting with low-fidelity testing for faster iterations early in the T&E process. This allows quick iteration to fix obvious bugs or biases.
As the system matures, you must move to more realistic non-production systems, including detailed hardware-in-the-loop testing, which simulates the physical process interactions. Virtualized controllers can speed up the process where modeling physical effects isn't strictly critical.
The deployment rule is simple but strict. Only move the AI system into production after sufficient and rigorous testing in a non-production environment.
Furthermore, adherence to traditional data protection mechanisms is mandatory. You must avoid exposing real, sensitive production data in non-production environments during testing, as this creates a backdoor security risk.
Finally, in this principle, 3.4 addresses navigating regulatory and compliance considerations for AI in OT. The regulatory landscape is immature and playing catch-up, which creates immediate challenges for owners who operate under strict mandates.
Key challenges include the lack of specific OT-oriented AI standards, as current international technical standards often focus heavily on IT environments.
Auditability is difficult because tracing or explaining complex AI decisions can stall mandatory regulatory reviews.
And AI systems, due to their dynamic nature, may struggle to meet the rigorous static safety certifications required in many OT sectors like nuclear or chemical processing.
This means you have to stay ahead of the curve. The document highlights the importance of evaluating rapidly evolving technical standards, such as those from the European Telecommunications Standards Institute, ETSI, Technical Committee Securing Artificial Intelligence, SAI.
They specifically named 3 standards as exemplary guides: ETSI TR 104 104 128 Guide to Cybersecurity for AI Models, ETSI TS 104 223 Baseline Cybersecurity Requirements, and ETSI TR 104 048 Data Supply Chain Security.
The fact that they focus on data supply chain security tells you exactly where the most complex systemic risks are emerging.
The technical takeaway here is the need for continuous validation. Owners must continuously validate and verify that AI systems meet stringent OT performance and safety regulations. This includes identifying, testing, and deploying mandatory thresholds for defaulting back to non-AI systems if the AI outputs fall below required performance benchmarks.
This threshold is the bridge between proactive governance and reactive failsafe.
So we've arrived at the ultimate principle. What does this all mean for the person sitting in the control room? Principle 4, Embed Oversight and Failsafe Practices, is the philosophical conclusion of the entire document.
It means that humans retain ultimate responsibility for functional safety, and the tools they build, including AI, must have human controls and emergency bypasses integrated at every stage.
Exactly. This principle starts with the reality that AI will fail, whether through error or attack. 4.1 covers establishing monitoring and oversight mechanisms. This starts with maintaining a detailed inventory of every single AI component and every system reliant on that AI. Then you rigorously log and monitor all inputs and outputs for the AI system.
And a crucial step for resilience. You have to maintain a documented, known good state for the AI system, including model weights, input definitions, and configuration, to allow for rapid, verified restoration in case of an attack or model corruption.
The concept of human-in-the-loop decision-making is paramount. Operators must be involved, especially for critical OT operations.
For passive AI systems, those just offering recommendations, the advice can be incorporated into existing slow change management processes. But caution is extreme for active AI systems directly influencing control. Problems can escalate rapidly before an operator even notices the telemetry is wrong. Where AI actively updates control logic, human intervention points must be mandatory, using safety thresholds, cross-verification with alternative sensors, or state changes to force a human check before action is taken.
The benefits of this rigorous human oversight are comprehensive. Improved OT environment safety, enhanced reliability by maintaining human training and catching drift.
And increased trust in the system from the operational staff.
A core function of oversight is understanding the correctness of the AI system.
Owners must rigorously assess where the AI system fails to produce accurate results. This means having clear, documented expectations for false positives, alarms that are irrelevant, and false negatives, missed failures. You need to know how wrong the AI can be, why it's wrong, and how those errors compare to the historical base rate of true positives. Oversight also includes robust anomaly detection and behavioral analytics. You must establish safe operating bounds for OT devices and use behavioral analytics on the model's performance itself to detect AI drift, unexpected model changes that impact safety, or security risks.
And here's a key forensic and compliance detail for when things go wrong. Configure logging so the AI identity is distinct. The system logs must identify the AI agent as a separate entity from any typical machine or user identifiers.
That's absolutely vital for compliance and for forensic analysis after an incident to determine if the AI was manipulated or merely failed.
Furthermore, organizations should regularly evaluate the AI functions through offensive security assessments or red teaming. You need skilled adversaries testing the model with malicious data injection or prompt manipulation to proactively identify vulnerabilities and test resilience before a threat actor in the real world does.
The guidance then clarifies the difference between explainable AI, XAI, and transparency.
Explainability focuses on making the reasoning behind individual AI decisions understandable to users. That's the audit trail of why the valve was opened.
While transparency focuses on how the AI system works as a whole, its development methodology, its training data sources, and its operation mechanisms.
They note that LLMs and deep learning systems are often inherently opaque, making detailed auditability difficult. This opacity is a critical tension point because while XAI tools help developers, it's an open question whether they will ever satisfy the rigorous military-grade functional safety standards required in OT environments.
If you can't fully explain the decision, you can't fully guarantee the safety.
Because of these complexity and transparency concerns, the guidance strongly reiterates the preferred architecture we discussed earlier.
Mm.
Prefer push-based or brokered architectures. Maintaining segmentation is the ultimate priority. This ensures the AI system doesn't become a persistent, open attack path into the most sensitive control networks.
The final topic, 4.2, is about embedding safety and fail-safe mechanisms. Since incidents, whether caused by error or malice, are inevitable, critical infrastructure owners must establish mechanisms for the AI system to fail gracefully.
Meaning the failure does not disrupt or damage critical operations.
The integration of dynamic AI inevitably generates new, unforeseen failure states for the overall critical infrastructure system. Therefore, new functional safety procedures must be designed and reviewed by safety engineers that specifically account for the AI integration, checking how they interact with existing sector-specific safety states and emergency shutdowns.
This means updating incident response plans, IRPs, immediately. The IRPs and functional safety procedures must include specific detailed steps for responding to both malicious activity and systemic failure directed against the AI system,
including how to physically bypass or replace the failed AI system using manual or traditional controls. That physical bypass procedure is the non-negotiable insurance policy.
That brings us to the end of this highly detailed, globally collaborative guidance. It truly outlines the necessary, sober roadmap for secure AI integration in critical environments.
Absolutely. The opportunities for enhanced efficiency and decision-making are enormous, but they are intrinsically tied to complex, novel risks related to safety, security, and reliability.
Successful integration requires a dedicated adherence to the four principles. Understand the risks, rigorously consider the use case, establish governance and accountability, and finally, embed oversight and fail-safe mechanisms.
And as we close out, I want to leave you with the final provocative thought derived directly from this guidance, especially concerning that risk of dependency. The document states unequivocally that humans are ultimately responsible for functional safety. Given the enormous risks of AI dependency and skill erosion we discussed, the risk of operators losing the manual competency to run the system, the real challenge isn't just securing the model or testing the CUM for zero-day vulnerabilities.
The ultimate challenge for critical infrastructure owners is ensuring they invest in retaining the human expertise and critical thinking necessary to validate, bypass, and operate our most essential systems when the AI inevitably errs, or, as the guidance chillingly puts it, hallucinates.
That human skill, our operational and manual competency, is the final, non-negotiable failsafe.
And that is something every critical infrastructure entity needs to be investing in right now.
A deeply sobering, but entirely necessary thought for anyone working at the intersection of bits and atoms. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the future of secure industrial control.